Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Amelia Curtis. I'm the Education and Training Manager at San Diego Humane Society. I oversee all of our programs that we host on site and virtually for both adults and kids, as well as our internal training program for staff. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening in our Pet Talk, learning about becoming a foster family with San Diego Humane Society. Before we kick off with the presentation, I'm just going to share a little bit about some upcoming events that we have here. So if anyone is ever interested in just doing a quick snapshot of what we have going on at San Diego Humane Society coming up, if you just type in sdhumane.org/events into your web browser, you can scroll down and find out all the fun things going on. So community and educational events are one tab here, and we are here this evening in our foster pet talk. We have some great pet talks coming up in our Wake Up with Wildlife series as well. Our Wake Up with Wildlife is going to be about learning about wildlife legislation coming up on December 4th. And then for our December 9th Pet Talk, it's a community pet conversations, which is community veterinary services and One Health. And we're going to be talking about how animal welfare is providing more community-based services, including veterinary services. And then we have a really cool one coming up in the end, towards the middle, I guess, of December. We have a pet talk on shopping cruelty-free. So I don't know if anyone has explored that yet in your personal life. I just bought some new makeup recently, and when I walked into the store, I asked if they could guide me towards cruelty-free products, and the sales associates knew exactly where to guide me, and it was really easy. So there's going to be discussion on all types of products, including cosmetics, and how you can read labels and make sure that you're understanding what you're reading. And that will be hosted by Humane Society of the United States. So that'll be a fun one to attend. I'll send information about all of these events out in my follow-up email to everybody either tomorrow or early next week. And then I always like to share an adoptable animal that could use a little bit of extra attention. And so I've gone to our featured pets section, and this is, I believe you pronounce it Meshov, and it is Adopt a Senior Pet Month. So I'm going to highlight a senior pet. He's a 7 years young Siberian Husky. He looks super happy and smiley. And he looks like let's see, every disagreement tends to dissolve into a one-sided singing match. So Huskies do have a very cute sound they make, and it sounds like he has lots of energy in his older years. So he is going to be one I will highlight in my email as well. So just a little bit of housekeeping for everybody. If you can keep yourself muted throughout the presentation, that would be great. If you think of a question, you can pop it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself to ask the question at the end. You're welcome to unmute and ask in person, but if you have a question throughout the presentation that's relevant to the slides, you're welcome to put it in the chat and I can ask it for you. And then at the end, as I said, we'll take all types of questions. So whether they refer back to a slide or if they're more general, that's fine. So those questions at the end, you can either put in the chat or you can unmute yourself to ask. And then you can keep your camera on or off. That is entirely up to you. And we will go ahead and take it away with our presentation. So I'd like to introduce Jessie King and Sarah Lovett, who are going to walk you guys through how to become a foster family with San Diego Humane Society.
All right, so Sarah's going to share her screen. So we have a nice presentation with a ton of photos of our animals.
Is it sharing okay, Jessie?
It is.
All right. My name is Sarah Lovett. I am the foster and nursery supervisor here at the San Diego campus. I've been with San Diego Humane Society for 3 years, and I love all things kitten. My life revolves around kittens. And I'm also a foster mom, a kitten foster mom, and my husband and I both, we love to foster, so it's close to our hearts.
And I'm Jessie. So I am the Director of Volunteer Program Development, which means that I'm part of the team that oversees all volunteers, including fosters. So we work with Sarah and her foster team to help develop all the training and recruitment and guide you guys and support you as you foster pets. I've actually been working here for 10 years now. I'm a CVA, which just means that I've had some training in volunteer management, and I'm also a foster volunteer. So I foster here and there, typically kittens as well. I once surprisingly brought home a puppy to my husband who wasn't aware that we were going to be fostering, and it was a last minute decision, but it was a little Yorkie from a case a while back where we got a ton of Yorkies into our care. And this little girl just had one eye, and we loved her for a couple days. My dog at the time, Wowzer, did not love her so much. So it was easy to say bye as she went on to her next family. But we've done that here and there, and it's really a fun volunteer gig to do. So I'm glad you guys are all here to learn a little bit more. So what we're going to talk about tonight, Sarah, if you want to go to the next slide, we're going to start off with a little bit about who we are as an organization. Then we'll dive into all things foster. And then at the very end, I'll go over how to get started. So what does the application look like if you haven't done that already, all of our online training, and then kind of how the matchmaking works. So to start off with our history, we have some photos to go along with all of these points. We have been around for 140 years. So that was our very first building way back in the day. And we are a private, independent, nonprofit organization, but we do have municipal contracts. So 14 cities in the San Diego County have contracts with us for their animal control for that area. So humane law and caring for stray animals. So we're kind of a combo shelter. There's a lot of government-run shelters. There's a lot of just private, nonprofit shelters, and we're kind of like that in between. We're not affiliated with any other humane society. So even though there's a bunch of other humane societies across the United States, they each operate independently. And that goes for the Humane Society of the United States as well. So they are kind of a huge entity that does a lot of work across the nation, but each of the local humane societies kind of does their own thing. And we just partner with them on different transfers or initiatives or whatever it might be. So point number 2 is our recent growth. So from that 140-year-old photo to today, we have grown a ton, especially in the last 10 years. So we expanded from just San Diego, and we're now in El Cajon, Escondido, Oceanside, Ramona. And we not only just care for companion animals, but we now care for wildlife as well. So we merged with Project Wildlife a little while back, and then we recently merged with a wildlife center in Ramona as well. So we are all across the county helping a ton of animals. And we now also share information, materials, and experiences with a lot of shelters nationwide to help them help their communities. So from all the stuff that we've learned or all the stuff that we develop, we like to share that as often as we can. We are an open admission shelter. So what that means is, oh yeah, this is Hannah. So this is Hannah, she is part of the recent growth. So she's actually up in Ramona, and I just couldn't carry on without sharing a photo of her. So the next photo is about open admission shelters, even though Hannah did come to us from the community. Open admissions means that we basically do not turn animals away. So whether they're stray, they're injured, they're relinquished from their family, or they're coming in through humane law, we have committed to taking in every animal in need, whereas some smaller private nonprofit shelters without contracts can say, oh, we're at capacity, oh, we can't take that kind of animal right now. So with those contracts, we have committed that we will take in animals in need, which is why fostering comes in as a huge part of that, because we do have capacity. And so if we are full and more animals keep coming, we really count on fosters to make room for all of the animals in need. In any given year, we see about 40,000 animals through this open admissions process, and that includes 10,000 wildlife, about 30,000 companion animals. And every animal that we get, every companion animal, is spayed and neutered, vaccinated, and microchipped when they get adopted. So here's kind of our average length of stay for the animals in our care. So as you can see, our smaller pets do stay with us a little bit longer. The farm animals that we have up in Escondido stay for us for quite a while. And our goal is to get every animal into an adopted home as fast as possible. We definitely don't have any sort of general time limit for an animal. So yes, the average dog stays for 8 days, some stay for 1 day, and some stay for 10 months to a year. It just totally depends on the dog and what they need. So being open admissions means that we have a lot of animals coming in. There's no time limit for them just based on space, even though we do have capacity. And being open admissions means that we do get some unhealthy animals into our care. So unhealthy means that an animal might be unhealthy medically. So they have a medical condition that we need to explore and hopefully treat, or they have a behavior that we need to kind of evaluate and see what they need from us when they're in our care. Sometimes the animals that come in are beyond what we can do to help them. So their medical condition is so extreme or so far along that we do sometimes have to make the euthanasia decision for them, just like you would for any pets that you have. And same case for behavior. Sometimes after working with the animals and evaluating what they need, and our community has determined that just for safety reasons, we can't adopt that animal out. So that's kind of a tough part with open admissions and so many animals coming in that we do get some unhealthy animals, but luckily for the most part, over 90% of animals don't fall into that category. So it's a great place to support because there's a lot of animals in need, and being open admissions means that we do have a lot in our care. So the funding to care for all of those animals comes from a variety of different areas. And the average cost to care for one animal is $848. The daily cost to care for all the animals in our care on an average day is $74,000. So it's a huge operation because we have 40,000 animals coming into our care, which means that we need to raise a lot of money to do this work. So this photo kind of breaks down how we raise those funds, and you'll see that 45%, so that blue side, is from donations and philanthropy. So just our community supporting us, wanting to help us help these animals, and personally making a donation. 46% of the funds that we have coming in are from those animal service contracts. So for those 14 cities, part of that contract is that they will pay us to do that care for the animals. And we also do licensing for those areas. So it's required to have your dog licensed, and with that comes a small fee. So 46% of our revenue comes from that. And then 5% is from small programs like camps that we host over the summer, birthday parties, and then our adoptions, which most people think that a lot of your fundraising comes from those adoption fees, but it's really just a tiny portion. And then the last one is investment income. So we have a very savvy financial team that invests for us, and each year we get returns on those funds. And then the last thing here about us is our areas of focus. So when you think of a shelter, you think animals. So of course, our focus is helping animals, helping homeless animals in need. But we also have a very, very big focus on our community. So the pet owners, in addition to the pets. Our main goal is actually to keep the pets out of the shelter. So we are here, we are full, we have lots of animals coming in that need us, but our number one priority and goal is to try to keep pets with their families. So the way that we do that is through a variety of services, including giving out pet food, like you see in this photo. We offer behavior assistance. We have access to veterinary care. So we have vouchers if folks need those. And we really just don't want families to have to face the decision of relinquishing their pet if they don't want to. So sometimes a pet just isn't the right fit for a family, and that's okay, and we support those families. But if somebody truly wants to keep their animal and they're just struggling, we want to be able to support them to keep their pet. So the other half of that is, of course, the pets. We're focusing on caring for them when they're in our shelter. and we want to try to get them adopted as fast as possible. So when they're in our care, we provide them what they need. So we have a full vet hospital on site in the shelters, so we can perform surgeries. We just had a dog who was cured of cancer recently, so lots of amazing things happening in the hospitals. We have a behavior center in San Diego. So that was the photo that I showed earlier. And it's one of the only ones in the nation. And if animals come to us and we figure that they have behaviors that need to be evaluated further, modified, try to manage, we put them at the behavior center to work with our trainers. And they take their time to hopefully figure out how to manage that behavior and get them into an adoptive home. And then all the animals have daily enrichment and walks, lots of times from volunteers who help us on site. And then lastly, after animals are adopted out, we are a resource for those families. So they can call us for advice, they can call that behavior helpline, they can access all those services for the community. And we also have an adoption guarantee. So we want to have them be comfortable and let us know if something isn't the right fit for their family, because you don't always know until you get the pet in your home. We kind of advise them how it takes an adjustment period and all that. But if you get home and your resident dog does not like his new friend, or the animal's just uncomfortable with your kids or whatever it might be, our guarantee is that you can call us and bring that pet back to us. And we would love to learn home so we can include that information in our and try to find them a better fit next time. So it's not a bad thing if it doesn't work out. We just didn't the right match the first time, and by bringing them back into our care, we can do a better job for that family and for that pet. So that's a little bit about SDHS in a nutshell. A little bit about our volunteer program on the next slide. We have lots of great photos in this PowerPoint, which makes it go a little slow. So our volunteer program is pretty big. So we have about 3,500 on-site volunteers. And what that means is throughout the year, 3,500 people on average will donate their time to support our organization, either directly with animals, with guests that come to us, or in the community giving out those services. In addition to those 3,500 volunteers, we also have about 550 staff spread across all of those campuses from Ramona down to San Diego. And then we have a ton of foster parents. So last year we had about 1,400 animals out in foster homes. And we have, we had 5,000 foster pets in 1,400 foster homes last year. So lots and lots of foster pets out of the shelter in somebody's home temporarily. And whether volunteers help us on site or in their home with their pet, they make a huge impact on the organization. So we say it every day, we couldn't do what we do without volunteers. So we're very excited that you're here and you're interested in helping on that foster side. And if you're interested in also helping on site, you can go onto our website, read about the different opportunities we have at all of the campuses, and then get started on that training path as well. So you can absolutely do fostering and on-site volunteering at the same time.
Little shout out to one of my former foster kittens. This kitten on the right was actually one of my former foster kittens. She was a chocolate kitten named Choco, and she got adopted. Had to sneak her in there. All right. Well, why is foster so important? Because the best place for a pet is in a home, right? Nothing can compare to the quality of care that you receive in a home, as much as we try to mimic a home and environment as much as we can here on site. It's just never the same, right? So, and another great reason is shelter capacity. We don't have the capacity to care for every animal that we might want to if we didn't have so many foster homes and so many animals going to foster. So, as Jesse was saying, 5,677 animals in foster homes, distinct animals in foster homes last year. So that's amazing. Another great reason is to socialize that animal. Lots of dogs do obviously come out of their shells in foster homes and really thrive. You really see their true personality come out. Foster kittens, getting to socialize in a home environment so they can be ready for their adoptive home. And then another reason is specialized care. Like lots of animals need specialized medical care. We have neonate kittens that need a really specific set of husbandry guidelines to follow. So that's very important. And it's something that we can't always provide in care. And then the last reason is no one is going to market that pet better than you. When you love that pet so much and have them in your home, you can take lots of great photos like this little kitten here. It's invaluable to see them come out of their shell in a foster home, and lots of people like to see that piece of their personality. So lots of really important reasons why we need fosters to, make all of this work. And there's lots of different types of foster assignments. So I would say 70% of our foster population is kittens. We are highly kitten based, but we have lots of different types of assignments. Like I was saying, lots of medical animals that need specialized care to go to foster, behavioral animals that need a little bit extra help and might have a training plan to go to foster. Foster tracks for all different sorts of species, like small pets, including rabbits and guinea pigs, or puppies or kittens, all different kinds of species. And then here you see these blue and green badges on the end. We have a really exciting newer program called the Safety Net Foster Program. It's a really impactful way to give back to the community. So just more to come about that later, but a really exciting way to provide foster care for a pet parent in need. So lots of ways to contribute your time and your love, your empathy to others. What's provided for each assignment, we provide all necessary supplies. So a lot of people worry about that, but we can definitely help you with any supplies. We always encourage fosters to provide whatever they're comfortable with, but that's up to your discretion. We provide hands-on bottle training throughout the years. We always think that that's very important for if you do want a bottle feed, to have that one-on-one hands-on experience. So we provide that throughout the year at different times. General trainings, referring back to the tracks, if you would like to work with a behavior animal, making sure that you have the guidance needed to give that animal the best care you possibly can. San Diego Humane Society provides all necessary medications for those animals. If your foster kittens become ill, that is something that we cover. And then support from the foster team. The foster team is here 7 days a week, 9:30 to 6. And both through via phone and through email, and we do have after-hour support for emergencies as well. All right. Basic expectations for fosters, really just your willingness to commit your time and care to that animal to do the best that you can for them, to follow all husbandry guidelines for that animal, follow those policies and procedures for caring for that animal, whether it's like feeding or medications and things like that. We will ask that you follow all policies and procedures that San Diego Humane Society implements. Since that animal is in our care, they're technically our property, so we do reserve the right to make all care decisions for that animal. Depending on the foster species that you have in your home, they may need periodic appointments for vaccinations or for medical care. So we ask that you keep those appointments, and if you do need to rearrange them or be late to them, that you're in communication with your foster team, because it is very important for them to stay on that schedule. Being very observant to everything that your foster pet does. It's really important that if you do see concerning behaviors or medical concerns, that you vocalize them and be very communicative with your foster team, because that can really be very impactful to the future of that animal. And then trust in the process. I know a lot of people, and me too, worry about their animal, the future of their animal once they've been fostered and they've become ready to be adopted. Trust that our adoptions counselors, our teams, are working hard to match fosters with the most appropriate matches, what's best for the animal, what's best for the person. And if that animal is returned, that, like Jessie was saying, that we've learned a little bit more about that animal, and we're gonna work to find the right fit for them. And then finally, to be an ambassador for your animal and for San Diego Humane Society, by following all procedures, by marketing your pet, just being very mindful as a volunteer and as a foster. Each assignment is matched based on interest from the foster home, from the foster person. So a lot of people have a certain species that they'd like to foster. A lot of people only like to foster kittens or only like to foster adult dogs. So we do make matches based on those preferences. And of course, like if you have dogs of your own in your home, or any restrictions like that, or children, we definitely keep that in mind as we look through our list of foster candidates. We do ask that the foster stay in that one foster home for the length of that assignment. We know that that might not always be possible, things come up, but we typically have an expected length of assignment for that particular animal, and we do ask that you make a commitment to that animal to see them through. That being said, again, they may need to come back earlier or stay longer, depending on, not just depending on your schedule, but also depending on the animal itself. Some kittens, they're always looking forward towards spay neuter, trying to become adoptable, but maybe that kitten needs an extra week. And we really appreciate our fosters being flexible with that and opening their homes longer, or if a medical animal reaches the end of their treatment earlier, them being fosters being very open to doing what's best for the animal and allowing them to move on to their adoptable phase. Once the animal is placed for adoption or brought back into care, we love that fosters market their animals, that they share them on social media, that they be an ambassador for their animal, to reach out to the community and really show their animal in the best light. This is one of our foster tracks for small pets. One point of consideration is we ask that all small pets be kept indoors at all times. A lot of people will want to take their rabbits outside to, experience sunshine and things like that, which I definitely understand where people are coming from on that, but there are risks to doing that. And so we ask that they stay indoors always, because there are a lot of dangers outside. Predators and different plants that might be toxic to that animal. So that's one thing to consider with small pets. Typical length of assignment, it could be as short as 2 weeks. Maybe a rabbit just needs to bulk up before surgery, or maybe it's an underage rabbit that needs to grow for 2 to 3 months until surgery. So it's a typical length of assignment. We have a general need for small pet fosters all year round, but especially right now, we do have a high number of small pets, especially rabbits and guinea pigs. So if you are interested in rabbits and guinea pigs, this is a good time to express interest in that. And typically the highest need when it comes to the small pet category would be rabbits with their kits. We often have a lot of pregnant rabbits that give birth to large litters, and they can be very hard to place because a rabbit can have 8 kits in a litter, so that is a lot of rabbits. But if you are somebody who's open to that and providing a safe space for them, then we always appreciate that. And then and definitely orphan rabbits. Occasionally we do get orphan rabbits, and those can be very hard to place too, because they do have some specialized needs. But if you are a person that's open to that or have previous experience with orphan rabbits, that's very valuable. Puppy track also includes moms who have whelped with and have puppies, or pregnant moms waiting to give birth. Some things to keep in mind for this track is for puppies especially, they need to be kept inside or in a private yard. They will be unvaccinated or under-vaccinated and not fully done with their series of vaccinations yet, so they're at risk for disease. So you want to keep them indoors, have them go on potty pads, or if you do have a private yard that no other dogs traffic aside from your own, they are able to go out into a private yard. This would also be the case for moms and pups too, because mom can bring disease back to her puppies. She can go on short walks, but you would want to wipe her feet when she comes back in. And then, but an orphan puppy, definitely no walks at all. And moms and puppies can't go on walks either. Typical length of assignment is until the puppies are 8 weeks. So it kind of depends on when you receive the puppy, but that's usually around the time we spay neuter. So they'll return to care for surgery and then be made adoptable. We do tend to have a lot of puppies and moms and pups in the winter season for some reason. So they do kind of, the population ebbs and flows kind of similarly to the way kittens do. So we have seen a lot of moms and pups recently, and definitely large breed moms can be very difficult to place. So if you are someone who's interested in a mother and puppies, especially for a large breed mother and puppies, we always appreciate fosters willing to do that. And then also bottle puppies, puppies who require bottle feeding, orphaned puppies, that's often a need of ours as well. The dog track is for any adult dog. Some considerations for the dog track would be no beaches or dog parks, basically any location where other dogs might be off leash. This is just a safety concern mostly. Incoming dogs, we're constantly trying to learn more about their personality and things they like and don't like, but it's always hard to predict what a shelter dog, how a shelter dog might react to other dogs who are off leash, or how another dog might react to, your foster pet. So we ask that fosters do not take their adult dogs to any dog to dog beaches or parks. Typical length of assignment is sometimes a couple of weeks, just to give an available dog a break from the shelter, or it could be several months depending on the needs of the dog. Maybe the dog has behavioral needs or medical needs. And we generally have a need for adult dog fosters all year round. And then definitely the highest need for the dog track is large breed dogs. Large breed dogs, dogs with behavioral needs or medical needs, especially if those dogs are large breeds. So if you like large breed dogs, definitely reach out. Cat track is for adult cats. Some considerations would be it is a good foster pet option for someone who maybe works out of the home and is away for several hours. And another consideration is foster cats must be kept indoors at all times. We do not allow for cats to be indoor-outdoor while they're foster pets, just for their general safety, to make sure that we always know where they are. But yes, they must be kept indoors at all times. And cats definitely need a lot more time to settle in than some other species and other tracks. So, just being patient with your foster pet and knowing that, it might take them a few days to learn your routine and to know that they're safe. Typical length of assignment, again, similar to the dogs, can be a couple of weeks if the cat is an available cat who's just looking for a break from the shelter, or up to several months if they're a cat who's high stress, maybe has some behavioral concerns or medical concerns. And we generally have a need for cats all season, but definitely also, especially during the warmer months where we have a higher number of kittens with queens, mother cats who might need to go to foster as well. All right, and this is our kitten track. This is actually my current foster kitten, Dylan. He is a very special child. He actually had to have a heart surgery, and he also has a malformed back leg. He doesn't have a foot on his back left leg, so he's very extremely special. I've been fostering him since he was 5 weeks old, and he just kind of like has some congenital deformities. So I've had him this long, but he's doing great. He's a very precious angel. Some considerations for the kitten track. we will ask you to foster more than one kitten most of the time, just for their behavioral development. We find that kittens do best in at least minimum pairs, but if we do have kittens come in a larger litter and you're comfortable with taking the entire litter, we will err on that side. We will, if you are willing, we will ask that you take the entire litter. Dylan actually he was one of 4 siblings, so he's just the last one to be adopted because he had to have surgery. But yes, unless for some reason the kitten has a medical or behavioral concern, sometimes like Dylan now is a single foster kitten, but if a kitten comes in alone and has a medical concern, we might ask that kitten go out for specific treatment, but generally we'll ask you to take more than one kitten. Again, similar to puppies, we ask that they be kept inside at all times. No like walks, or like some people want to leash their kittens and things like that. Nothing like that. We ask that they not be in the yard, similar to the rabbits and things like that, just because there are predators outside. Typical length of assignment is until they're 8 weeks old. That is our typical spay neuter age for kittens as well. Generally, our need for kittens is, we typically have kittens all year round, but it definitely ebbs and flows. And the greatest need is during the warmer summer months, kitten season. So it is a seasonal need, but generally we do have kittens, some amount of kittens all year round because San Diego is a warmer climate. Our highest need are bottle kittens. Our nursery just actually closed for kitten season. Kitten season is now over. We're going into the winter, the colder months, but our greatest need at that time are fosters for bottle kittens, or people who are willing to learn to bottle feed to foster bottle kittens. That is definitely a great need, or kittens that have medical concerns. Some kittens who may be experiencing disease like panleukopenia can be hard to place because a lot of people have cats in their own home. So if you are a person that is interested in fostering kittens and doesn't have any of your own pets or pet cats, that's might be a great option for you. This is our medical foster track. That's Boondock. He's a very precious angel. He's been adopted now, but he was an old man and he had a lot of dental surgeries, but he was an angel. Some considerations are sometimes certain foster assignments require an agreement to be signed, such as in the case of distemper. Since distemper is a contagious disease, we ask that you do sign an agreement that states you understand that, especially if you have your own dogs or other pets that it might be contagious to. Again, some may have contagious diseases, so some are contagious to other animals, but some may be contagious to humans as well, such as for ringworm. We had some kittens with, who had ringworm who went out to foster, and that's a great need because not everyone is open to fostering kittens with contagious illness to humans, but it is a significant need for those animals who do come down with those illnesses.
And Sarah, just to chime in, that sounds very scary, but the foster team's great at training you how to care for those animals and keep yourself safe, and gives you the supplies needed to bathe those ringworm kittens or give them the treatments that they need. So we're not just going to hand them to you and expect you to know what to do. They'll give you very specific instruction.
Yes. And many of our medical type assignments will come with a medical consult that will ask you to speak with one of our DVMs to go over care for that animal and make sure that you're comfortable with the amount of care that is required for that animal. But yes, it's not a scary thing. We definitely walk you through every piece of that. But yes, just something to be aware of, that there are some animals that are in need who are animals that are looking for a foster that do have contagious illness. Again, with those kittens, those animals, like Jesse was saying, you might need to administer medications to those animals. But again, that is something that we'll go over with you and that our medical team can also go over with you as well. And then sometimes we do require that certain assignments go to homes without other pets. Sometimes like specific pets, like if we do have animals that have an illness that's communicative only to the same species, we'll ask that, no other cats in the home or no other dogs in the home, things like that. Typical length of assignment can vary as well. It could be a couple of weeks if they just have a couple of weeks of medications to go through just to get them back on their feet, or it could be several months. In the case of the dog being treated for cancer that is now cancer-free, Eric, he was being treated for TBT, which is listed below, a type of canine cancer. So in his case, he did require care for several months, but he did great. He his treatments went great, and now he's cancer-free. So it can be very rewarding to take on an assignment that has greater needs. It can definitely be challenging sometimes, but the reward can be so significant when you see that animal pull through. And yeah, our need for this type of assignment is definitely high, again, because there's sometimes those kind of parameters. So definitely, if you are interested in taking on a medical assignment, we definitely appreciate that. And listed below, like I was saying, distemper is a common need of ours. Dogs with distemper go into foster. TBT is one of the cancers that I was talking about before. And then just broken bones. A lot of animals will come to us, unfortunately, with broken bones or fractures. So sending them to foster for healing is very beneficial to them. And then our behavior track, we have, as Jesse was talking about before, we do have our behavior center, and we have a behavior team that works there. So they work very closely with us on these behavior fosters. They're typically animals that are in the behavior center who have some amount of behavioral concern that they think might thrive better in a foster home. So oftentimes we'll seek foster homes for those animals and put you in contact with the behavior team to go over a training plan for that animal, or potentially medications for that animal to help with stress or anxiety. And then again, with this track, sometimes homes without other pets are required for this as well, but sometimes in the case of like some really dog social dogs, sometimes the behavior team will ask that we send behavior dogs home with a dog social dog in the foster home. So it can vary. Typical length of assignment varies as well. It really depends on the behavioral changes that happen in the foster home and how fast they progress, or maybe they need a little bit more time to decompress, things like that. It can vary. Our need for this type of assignment is very high. So because there are some challenges that come with fostering a behavior animal, but again, it can be very rewarding, and we've had a lot of fosters be so proud of that behavior animal at the end when they make those successes and strides. And then the highest need for this track are definitely large breed dogs, or dog reactive dogs, dogs who maybe react strongly to seeing other dogs, or being walked by other dogs and things like that. This is our adoption ambassador track. It's currently going through some changes right now, but it is something that we would like to bring back. Some considerations are the animal will be available for adoption in this track. So you're fostering an animal who you are actively seeking a foster home for. Definitely, this is kind of like a people skills type assignment where you are actively marketing your animal and maybe interacting with other people. You can see this picture here. This foster actually wrote on her window in dry erase marker that her foster cat was available for adoption, which was a really fun idea. And sometimes homes with other pets are required for this as well, just depending on the type of animal. And this can really vary depending on when that animal is adopted, and definitely the need for people who are willing to house animals while they're waiting for their forever home is high. And then the highest need are for long-term residents, animals who maybe haven't found the right match while being here in care. Large breed dogs or small pets, animals who really maybe need like a really dedicated foster who can showcase them. Our safety net foster program is what I touched on earlier. It is a very important program that we are it's relatively new, close to our hearts here in foster. So consideration for this, a special agreement is required because this foster track is for owned animals. So it is for a pet parent who might be in need, might be experiencing a wide variety of situations in their lives, such as like fleeing from domestic violence or homelessness or things like that. You're really able to lend a powerful hand to somebody who's in genuine need, and really show that humanity and empathy. So you are essentially providing a temporary foster home for that person who is not able to hold on to their pet at that time. And that keeps that pet from being relinquished to the shelter, and in hopes that they will eventually be reunited. We do ask that you sign a specific agreement for this because they are an owned animal, so you won't be able to like post any pictures of them online or anything like that. They are not adoptable. We have entered them into this program in hopes that they will be reunited. In this case as well, sometimes homes without other pets are required depending on the particular animal, and maybe you have a dog who doesn't get along great with other dogs, so we'd ask that dog go to a no dog home, things like that. Typical length of assignment mimics the contracts that we open up to those fosters. So typically we start them out with 30 days and we can extend it up to 90 days. So 30 to 90 days is the typical length of assignment for this type of foster assignment. And our need for it is definitely high. We do get several requests, and we definitely want to help as many people as we can. So anyone who's interested in the safety net program, we really always appreciate. And then the highest need for this program specifically would be large breed dogs or multiple dogs. So a lot of times the owner will relinquish maybe 2 or 3 like small dogs, or maybe they're a brother and sister pair that they have in their home, and they'll ask that they go together because they may be bonded or dependent on each other in some way. So in those cases, we will ask that the animals go together. So, and that can be challenging for a lot of people because not everyone maybe wants to take on a multiple animal assignment, but it is so powerful for those people who experience this program. We've seen several reunifications, and it is it's a really powerful way to get back to the community. There are definitely highs and lows to fostering. You feel a lot of the impact you make. You really watch this animal thrive and grow in your home, so that can be really powerful. You see them come out of their shell, you see them grow up a little bit, their personalities come out. So those are really, those are some really high highs. Sometimes the volume of foster assignments, if you're a person who likes to have foster assignments one after the other, we just ask that you be very communicative with us and understand the commitment that it takes to devote all of your time and energy to that foster assignment, which can be challenging on the person themselves. So always, think of yourself and think of your own self-care as well. Health and safety assignments may change. We don't always know everything about an animal. So a lot of times we'll send an animal to foster and we learn something about that pet in the home. Sometimes it's something positive, and sometimes it may be a challenge that you're about to face with that animal. But again, seeing them through that can be very extremely rewarding. Returning your animals at the end of your assignment may be very difficult, and is very difficult for a lot of our fosters. So really understanding yourself and your own personal emotions with that is very important. And again, practicing that self-care. And then loss. Sometimes foster assignments may end in humane euthanasia, obviously not in many cases, but in some, for various reasons. But we are always thinking of the quality of life of our animals and what is best for that animal. And sometimes in cases of decline or illness or things like that, you may have to say goodbye to your foster pet in that way. So that's something to keep in mind. And then we definitely, Jesse was talking earlier about all the foster homes that we have, but when you look at the entire number of foster homes and you actually filter it down to the specific needs for each of those tracks we discussed, you really see a smaller number of people. Like, we definitely have all these foster homes, but not every one of those foster homes wants to take a large breed dog, things like that. So sometimes we can have difficulty placing some animals. And definitely less of a need for the really highly adoptable animals. I mean, definitely like the cutest puppy in the world, who is adoptable. A lot of people will want to foster that puppy, but there's not necessarily a high need for that type of foster assignment because he could go to his forever home fairly quickly. So that's just something to keep in mind. The most needed assignments are those that are hard to place. The most needed types of fosters for us are for assignments who are hard to place. So we kind of discussed before, large breed dogs with puppies, large dogs with medical issues, large dogs with behavioral issues, bottle kittens who need specialized care and a specialized skill set from the foster, small pets, just based on the sheer number of small pets that we have, finding foster homes for every single one of them. And then adoption ambassador, people really willing to become dedicated to one animal and really look for a foster home for that, or a forever home for that animal. Here below, we have a few of our current animals available for adoption, looking for their forever home that are foster candidates. PD is an El Cajon. You can see he's a large breed and he does not get along with cats or dogs or children. So definitely some barriers for him. But look at him, he's so precious. Rhino is a pig at our Escondido campus. He's been here for quite a while, since May. And Escondido campus is unique in that they do have farm animals. They're on site, and some, like pigs or chickens and things like that, are foster candidates unable to go to foster homes if you are zoned for that appropriate species. Sweater weather is one of our rabbits at the Oceanside campus. Very precious sweater weather little rabbit. And then Pico is one of our adult dogs here at the San Diego campus. He actually spent a lot of time with our behavior team working on his training and things like that, but he is now available for adoption. And again, some barriers for him: no cats, no kids, no dogs. So you can kind of see kind of an array of some of the assignments that we're looking for foster homes for, and just a look at some available animals at the moment. All right, getting started. You are able to fill out an application on our website. You fill out an application and then you're able to go through and complete your tracks. So you would want to complete the tracks for any assignment that you are interested in taking so that you can always be ready. And then we do currently, we are utilizing an expression of interest form via a Google Doc on our blog that you can fill out to express your interest in lots of different types of assignments, but just like letting us know that you're open to taking on a foster assignment, and that what kinds of assignments you're interested in. And then we just go through and make sure that you've filled out your application, that you've signed any necessary agreements, and that you've completed any tracks necessary to foster. And then we work on getting you scheduled to come in to campus that you would like to work with, and getting you set up with supplies, and match you with a foster animal. And then here is, this is where you can find the application that I talked about. You must be 18 to apply, and your application is reviewed within a few days. Then those trainings become available to you, and we're able to review them on our end to see them as well. The in-person bottle trainings, when we do have them available, are posted on Volunteer Impact as well, and that is seasonal since I mentioned the nursery is closed currently, so we don't have any bottle kittens right now to send to foster and to have you train on. So that kind of comes up as there is need. And extended learning opportunities for volunteers are on there as well. Matchmaking, it's much easier for us to make matches when you keep your volunteer record up to date. You're able to select on your record if you have cats in your home, dogs in your home, if you have a fenced yard, if you have any children in your home, and you're also able to tick off if you're currently open to assignments as well. So that really gives us a lot of information to help make matches for you. Sometimes we'll organically make the match as, if you fill out our expression of interest form, we might see you on there and make a match for you there. Or, if you fill out the form and maybe we don't hear from us right away, sometimes we will, email you down the line. We're just working on things. We're gonna touch base with you in a week or two, and then maybe you'll hear from us later. It's kind of as there is need, we're scheduling those appointments. And then, keep your eye out for posted foster assignments and use that expression of interest form. This is Zoodle. This is one of our fosters with, this is her foster dog Zoodle in the little collar. He's a little old man. He was the most precious angel in the whole wide world. He's been adopted, but that is the goal. You just kind of have to trust the process that the animal you love and you're taking such good care of in foster will find an adopter. And if you find an adopter for the animal, that's great. You just have to let us know. The foster team is able to place holds for yourself as a foster volunteer or friends and family. We would just need their full name and phone number. And basically once they're available for adoption, if once the kitten becomes, is spay neutered and becomes available, or if it's a medical dog and is medically cleared and becomes available, our adoptions team reaches out to you or your friends and family directly to schedule paperwork completion and picking up their new forever friend.
All right, so we do have just a couple of questions to kick us off, and if you all have any additional questions, go ahead and just unmute and ask us or put it into the chat and Amelia can share with us. But one that we typically get asked is if kids can foster. I know a lot of kids are looking for service hours for school, and they can definitely help you foster. The person on the application in the volunteer database has to be over 18, but then anybody in your family can help you care for that pet once they're in your home. And if you do need service hour verification or a letter, you would just let the volunteer team know, and then we can go ahead and write that up for your child. So we'll say however many hours you've fostered animals for whatever time period, you let us know, and then you can turn that into the school. And then if there is ever an emergency when your pet is in your care, there is a whole system in place to support you and to support that pet, and you do not have to pay for that emergency. You do not have to make the decision. So Sarah, can you dive a little bit into what would happen if in the middle of the night your kitten got sick?
Yes, definitely. So we typically provide a printout of this when you pick up your foster assignment, but we do have an after hours emergency line that is available to you after hours every day of the week. 9:30 to 6, the fastest way to get your animal seen is to call us at the foster center directly. But if in the middle of the night you wake up and you're like, my foster kitten is not right, I have serious medical concerns at this time, you could always call that after hours number. Someone on the foster team, we rotate through who is on call each night, and someone always picks up that phone after hours. You can walk them through the symptoms that you're seeing or the event that occurred. They have access to our on-call vet who can give you medical advice or clear you to go to one of our after hours emergency hospitals. We have certain hospitals that we work with. We have some closer down in San Diego. We also have some a little bit further up in San Marcos, kind of dotted around, but they can clear you to go to one of those emergency hospitals if your animal does need to be seen. All you would need to do is have their animal ID number handy and let them know that this is a foster animal for San Diego Humane Society. And like Jesse said, you are not responsible for any of that medical care at all. They get in contact with our on-call vet, whatever DVM is on call that night, and they can discuss the care needed for your foster pet. So definitely there is always a resource for you available 24/7 for any kind of medical, any type of emergency. We've had, it can be any type of emergency really. like if your foster dog gets loose, or you know, things of that nature. So we're always a resource for you there. Yeah, kind of along the same lines. Also, if your foster pet does bite, you also have that emergency line available to you. Then you can report it to the emergency line, especially if you have concerns about your own safety. We do have access to our humane law officers who are able to assist you if you needed it after hours. But if the foster pet does bite, you do need to inform your foster team, just so that we can assess the situation and see if you or the pet needs any type of attention or medical care. And pets are able to quarantine in home in foster, but we are able to return that animal to care immediately and have you, based on how you feel about that assignment at that time. We do also have to fill out a bite report for most animals that do break skin. So we just always encourage an open communication there, because it's best for you, it's best for the animal, for you to always report any kind of concerns like that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's whether it's a large breed adult dog or the tiniest little kitten. If they do break skin, we legally have to document that. So
yes,
we're here to support you in those moments. They are not common, but just wanted to share that quick FAQ. And then 2 more that I thought of that we typically get asked are for commitment. So how often do you have to foster? Are you going to sign up and we're going to send you animals back to back to back to back? And no, that is not the case. It's up to each individual foster home and what your availability is, what your interest is. And like Sarah mentioned, self-care is number 1. So some foster families love to go back to back, and they return 1 litter of kittens and they take the next animal the next day if there's one in need, just because that's how they recover from getting rid of the last one. So I say it's kind of like sending your child off to college, like trust that they will do well and they will thrive. And some parents get that empty nester syndrome, and others are like, hallelujah, I got a break. So it's whatever fits your family best, and you get to decide when you open your home. You let us know when you're ready. And then the other one that I thought of is, Sarah did mention kind of the adoption process, and if you find a match, to let her know. But oftentimes our foster families do fall in love and just can't say goodbye and decide to adopt. And if that does happen to you, congrats. If it doesn't, also congrats, because then you can go and foster more animals, which is always really helpful to the shelter. So either way, it's a win-win. But if you do have the inkling you want to adopt your foster pet, let the foster team know right away so they can place that pet on hold for you, because everyone in the shelter has access to read your foster pet's information, so all the staff, and lots of times they're looking to make matches. So there might be an adoption counselor talking to an adopter who says, I want this magical adult dog who this, and they're like, oh, I have one of those in foster, and place them on hold for that adopter, where you were thinking like, maybe I'll adopt Buddy. So if you think you want to adopt and you want to place that hold, do it quick and do it fast, and then it goes into the database and that animal's on hold for you. And then backup holds can be placed, but you'll be number 1. So my advice is always talk to the foster team early if you think you're falling in love, because it can be a little heartbreaking if you think you're going to adopt, you don't let anybody know, and then they already have somebody lined up. Any other FAQs, Sarah, that you can think of that you
That is fantastic advice about the holds, for sure. Yes, that's absolutely great advice, because it's not a commitment to adopt necessarily. Right. You're saying I am very interested at this time, and it kind of puts you in first in line. So we always say, you're thinking about it, place the hold. We can remove it later, but this puts you first in line, so you don't, so it doesn't end in heartbreak,
Exactly.
Yes.
And if you think you'll be tempted to adopt and you don't want to, which was always my case, I would always foster the ones who already had a hold. So like that little Yorkie with the one eye that we fostered, she already had an adopter lined up and just needed 3 days in a foster home. So I knew I didn't have the option to adopt her, which was great because my dog Bowser didn't like her. So I wasn't even put in the situation where I had the option. So there's always kind of ways to make sure that you're thinking of your family first, because it can be very tempting when you have those cute little guys in your home. And if you don't even want to be tempted, there are ways around it.
Right. And it can be comforting to know that they have a loving home lined up for them. And
Yes.
if you are concerned about maybe wanting to adopt your foster pets, then the safety net program is a wonderful option for you, because those animals, those very cute animals, already have owners who love them very, very much, enough to want to enter them in this program in hopes that they will be reunited. So that's a wonderful way to give back.
Exactly. All right, any other questions? Or Amelia, do you have any questions from the group?
There are no questions so far from the group, but we are getting a question now. And then I also welcome you to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question too. Okay, so the first question is 2 parts. What are the requirements for personal pets, vet records, temperament testing, and then what are the limitations for traveling with your foster?
Yeah, so for personal pets, like I was saying, depending on the assignment, sometimes for particular assignments, we might ask that there be no pets in the home, or maybe none of a specific type of pet in the home, but that kind of depends on case to case. I would say generally, like if you're a person who wants to foster kittens, there isn't any requirement that you not have any of your personal pets or anything like that. One thing that we ask is that you wait a minimum of 2 weeks before you introduce your fosters to your personal pets. And that's for a number of reasons. But one is that a lot of times we don't have much background or medical history on a lot of these animals. So 2 weeks gives a good amount of time for if they do have any kind of illness that they're about to break with, for that illness, those symptoms to show. So we kind of, you don't get surprised with a ringworm assignment maybe in your home. We see any kind of warning signs in that way first. And then if after that time that you would like to introduce your personal pets to your foster pet, we ask that you, of course, like always be present, always monitor your personal pets with your foster pets and never leave them alone. But that's up to the foster's discretion. And of course, if like your foster pet does give your personal pet fleas or anything like that, you would be any kind of cost incurred from that would be on the foster to address, unfortunately. We don't require any kind of vet records or anything like that. We might ask that if you were taking on a distemper assignment, for example, that we might ask you, and you do have personal dogs, are your personal dogs vaccinated? But we don't require, because that's in their best interest to be vaccinated if they're going to have a contagious, something contagious in your home. But we don't require you to submit any vet records or anything like that. Temperament testing, we don't require any kind of temperament testing. A lot of people ask if they're able to introduce their personal dog to another dog they're about to take home. Occasionally we will do that, especially in behavior cases. A lot of times our behavior team would like to have an introduction before that foster animal goes home. But in most cases, it's just very hard for us to accommodate a lot of dog to dog interactions, because they kind of do require a lot of like safety precautions and things like that. We typically ask that, again, you keep them as separate as you possibly can. It's harder in the case of adult dogs, but that you keep them separate and introduce very slowly. And that usually is the best case scenario for that. In terms of traveling with your foster pet, you are not able to take your foster pet out of San Diego County. If you're going to go on vacation, we ask that you let us know. You're not able to leave like a lot of people ask about pet sitters. You're not able to leave your foster pet with a pet sitter. If you have someone else who lives with you in your home, that's usually, that's okay for them to watch the foster pet for a couple of days while you're away, as long as they have our contact information and our emergency information should they have an emergency after hours. But if you are leaving and you don't have anyone in your home to take care of them, then they must go to another approved San Diego Humane Society foster. So we do have some people who have other friends who foster, and you just have to let us know that you're going to transfer care to that person, and we can make sure that everything is transferred in our system so we know who has the pet. So hopefully that answered your 2-part question.
And if you don't have a buddy foster, just give the foster team like a week's warning at least that you need to return the pet and go on vacation, and then they can coordinate transferring it to another foster.
Yes.
If there's another foster home that's open to that specific animal. So it won't be just on you, but
Yes,
if
of
you
course.
do have somebody in mind, you can let them know.
Yes, and if you aren't able to, pick the pet up pick the pet up when you return, we are able to move that pet onto a new foster home, or have them return to care and maybe go up for adoption, things like that. So definitely, just the moral of that story is to let us know, and we can definitely work with you on that.
Yeah. And then one more thing on the dog to dog question, because we do get that a lot with adoptions as well. So we don't always do dog to dog introductions in the shelter when somebody's adopting. And that's kind of the same setup that we have for fostering. So we do have some resources available on how to best introduce dogs. And so we'll provide those. And then just like with the adoption guarantee, if it doesn't work in your home and you took it slow and you did all the right stuff and the dogs just aren't vibing with each other, let the foster team know and we'll just know it wasn't a fit. So not all dogs get along with each other, just like not all people get along with each other. So that's okay if you try and it doesn't work out.
Very true.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, this is Kathy. I have a question.
Hi, Kathy.
Now, hi. I was wondering, home with the fosters and a pet carrier, but if it's a larger dog, how does he get there? From the shelter, from your guys to us.
Right.
Do they go in a carrier too? Or?
Most ideally, every pet would go home to foster in a carrier, but again, with large breed dogs, that isn't always the case. Sometimes we're able to fit like a large crate in the backseat of a foster's car, but again, not everyone has a car that's able to accommodate that. What we've been doing is we actually have they're kind of like little tiny leashes, and they clip to their collar or their harness, and they actually fit into the buckle of the seat belt, and it kind of acts like as a little seat, like dog seat belt that kind of keeps them in your back seat safe, so they can't jump in your lap while you're driving or anything like that. And usually that's a safe and way to transport that dog home with you.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask another question?
Yes, please.
You were saying you need to keep your pets indoors, but dogs, how do you let them go to the bathroom? Don't they have to go outside for that, or?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. Adult dogs are able to go outside and they can go on walks and things like that in your neighborhood. They just aren't able to go. We're talking mostly for like small pets or puppies and kittens puppies who are unvaccinated, kittens who, it's just dangerous to. For an adult dog, that's totally fine for them to be outside and go on walks and things like that. Just not to any off-leash dog parks or anything like that.
But you wouldn't let them spend the night outside, correct? Or?
Correct. Yes.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have a question. So I have a special needs dog already. She was diagnosed with encephalitis when she was younger, when she was a puppy. And now she's 7 and she has seizures. She's lost vision. So she's unable to become fully vaccinated because her veterinarian does not, they don't know what caused her encephalitis as a puppy. It was right after she had gotten vaccinated. So her neurologist doesn't think that she should get vaccinated fully. What would be like the best, because my husband and I, we would love to open up our house to like as many animals as possible. But obviously we want to put like her needs first and our needs, right. And so we don't want to like put her into any kind of situation that could potentially harm her. What would be like the best group of animals that like we should foster? Because like behavioral issues, probably, you know, she sleeps like 23 to 24 hours a day. So she's
Dream, I think, right?
yeah. Yeah, she's over there. She's living the dream. She's, yeah. But for her, like, you know, we were thinking maybe like older dogs, you know, that aren't as like playful and that don't like want to play with her constantly. Like if we just opened our home to older dogs or dogs with medical issues, because we're very well versed in all of that. What would you guys say would be like the best group for us to focus our efforts on?
Right. So definitely there's risk anytime you bring a shelter pet into your home that they could break with some type of illness that they're either not presenting with on intake, or they show with later. So I will say that there is always an inherent risk. I would say probably your best bet is to go into if you're open to fostering a different type of species than dogs, that would probably be the safest route for her. Since a lot of illnesses are species specific. So, like for distemper, that's you can pass that between dogs. So, if you kind of go a different route, you kind of eliminate some of those species specific illnesses. That being said, there is always a risk for like we were saying, like ringworm or like skin diseases or things like that of that nature that are kind of universal to even people. So you do reduce the risk if you wanted to foster, like, I don't know how she does with felines, but like adult cats or things like different.
She'd be okay with a pig. I mean, she's
You can take,
yeah,
a pig. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely there are you can definitely, if you would like to reach out to the foster team, we can definitely work with you on it, because there are animals that have been in care longer who we have more of a medical history on, and you just kind of have to look inward and kind of come to terms with what kind of degree of inherent risk you're comfortable with. But we can definitely look for animals who have been historically healthy, who maybe are older, who aren't showing any illness like that. There are things you can do to reduce that risk if you are primarily interested in dogs. So that's something the foster team can definitely discuss with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or something else that a lot of, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, we look on the San Diego Humane Society website like every day, and yeah, we're kind of like teeter-tottering between adopting or just fostering. So
right, for sure. And there are similar risks to like when you do go through that adoption process, like you could adopt a dog that may like develop some kind of illness. Changing environments, sometimes the stress can help, it can show that kind of illness, help that illness break. So in that way, you are kind of making kind of a risk both ways by introducing a new pet into your home. So fostering is a good way to kind of test, the temperament of your dog with other dogs. If, she's been an only pup for a long time, things like that. So it does give her kind of like some exposure to, having other dogs in the home. So I will say, like, there are pros and cons to both, but if you are interested in adopting, then definitely like, if you find the right one, you find the right one, right? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we actually just had our friend, the Yorkies that you were talking about. I think it probably was the same. This one was like a huge case in Arizona, and all the Yorkies came here, and she adopted one of them, and it just stayed at our house, and it just made us want to,
Yeah.
they're so cute.
Something that a lot of fosters do, if they do want to keep them separate and have an easier time doing that, is fostering kittens, because they'll seclude them to like a bathroom, or depending on how your house is laid out, like a bedroom of their own, or a hallway that you can block off. So you can like really make that distinction between the two spaces. And especially if your dog's just chilling in her bed all day and she's not going to be too curious.
Yeah.
Kittens are pretty easy to keep separate. And then as long as you still socialize with them throughout the day, like they're getting all that they need as well. And with ringworm, which we tell our volunteers in the shelter as well, if you're worried about your pets at home, just wash your hands, change your clothes before you touch your pet after the shelter pet. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb, no matter how or where you're volunteering or working, if you're around animals that you don't quote unquote know or don't know their history. So lots of options, but it's a lot to think about. I totally get it.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? They can be general or personal about your own pet. All right, I think we're good, Amelia.
All right, so you can go ahead and stop your screen share, Sarah. All right, and then I will be sending out a follow-up email with a PDF of the presentation so that everybody can review it again, along with a recording of this evening's presentation. So everyone who signed up to attend this evening will receive all of that. So thank you all so much for coming. If you think of further questions, you are welcome to respond to my follow-up email and I can forward those questions along.
Thanks. And if you're ready to foster, the application's on the website. Just go to sdhumane.org/volunteer and you'll see all the ways that you can volunteer, including fostering, and the application's up there 24 hours a day. So you can sign up at any time.
And you know what? I'll put that link right in the email for you guys
Perfect.
too, and you can forward that on to others as well.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all so much for attending.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks
good
very
night,
much.
everyone. Thank you.